specific steps for NEAR and DOGE, as well as a key zone for Bitcoin that will determine where we go next. So I came across an interesting idea about Ethereum on Twitter. And here the author tells us that right now Ethereum is in a descending channel where we move from the upper boundary to the lower one, and this has been going on for quite a long time. And right now we are exactly at the lower boundary, so we can soon expect a move toward the next targets at 2230, 2280, and ultimately 2390. This idea currently looks extremely relevant and interesting. You can look for confirmation on the lower timeframes and overall enter long positions based on this idea. But there's really no need to rush here. If we don't get confirmation and consolidate below the 2180 level, then the situation will be completely different and we will most likely consider short positions. So, in the previous video, you asked me to analyze Doge, so let's do that. I want to start with the weekly time frame. Right now we are in a zone of fairly large volumes. And in addition to this, I want to immediately highlight a level that will be very interesting for us. These are double uncollected equal highs. Here, liquidity hasn't been taken from this low, and there are a large number of stop orders placed by those entering long-term long positions. This is just something to keep in mind, and a bit later I'll explain why. Now let's move on to the daily time frame. Here, I want to immediately highlight several key resistance levels. These are the levels 0.11732, 0.13061, and 0.14384. These levels acted as mirror levels. Moreover, we have significant high volume shelves here, so they serve as very strong levels of resistance for us if we move higher. Right now, the situation is quite an interesting one to watch. We took out the stop losses of those who entered short positions. This happened to us literally just recently with this movement, but we failed to break through this consolidation and stay above it. And now we are seeing a pullback in price. Now, it is quite likely that a corrective move will follow, and I have marked the main support level. This is the level 0.08906. It is important to note that liquidity was not taken out here. In other words, those who entered long positions basically placed their stop losses just below these lows. And as we can see, no one has taken them out yet. This means that this is a highly attractive target for the market maker to completely wipe out those who entered long positions too recklessly. And this is exactly what we can use to build our own trading setup. Let's immediately define our idea. If we now see corrective movements and the price goes to take out all this liquidity, it will be important for us to watch for a consolidation. If we come down to this area and sweep and clear out this pool of liquidity, and then return back above the 0.008906 level, then we have a favorable trading situation. In this case, we will consider opening long positions, because this price action will confirm the underlying strength of the buyers. This movement will simply look like a manipulation of the market. And from here, we will consider the positions we originally wanted to take. However, if we fail to consolidate and hold above this key level, then this will be a strong signal for a move lower. Why is that? Right here we have a volume profile shelf, and right now it acts as a level of support for our price action because we are currently trading above it. However, if we break down through this level and consolidate below it, then it will become resistance for us, and we won't be able to discuss any potential upward movement anymore. Moreover, we have a level from which liquidity hasn't been taken yet. These are double equal highs, and this is our target. This is exactly where the price will be aiming to go. And in addition to this, the next support level where the price might go is a dynamic level. It's the mark of 0.006570. Therefore, team, if we consolidate below the level of $0.008906, I would no longer consider taking any more longs, because the potential for the coin to drop would be extremely significant. Let's take a closer look at this move. It represents a potential drop of about -10 to -25%. So, I think in that case it would be better to consider other coins. However, if we successfully manage to consolidate and hold above our level, then a favorable situation will develop for considering potential long positions. Now, let's take a closer and more detailed look at this specific situation on the 4-hour time frame. And we can see that after liquidity was taken out, we now have corrective movements, and we've already gone after the stop losses of those who entered at the highs and placed their stops just below these very levels. And now essentially we can expect the corrective movements to continue for a bit longer. And if we now consolidate below this break, then overall it would be possible to consider entering into some short positions. And let's take a moment to roughly estimate how this setup could look. If we enter purely from the point of the break with a stop just above this high, then we can hold our trading position all the way down to our support level. But in this case, it's very important to secure some of your partial profits right here in order to protect your position, so you don't have any internal stress or worries. Let's mark out the partial take profit levels together. The first is our level at 0.10456, and the second level will be at 0.09866. And lastly, of course, I want to highlight the specific level at 0.09430. Because here, as we can clearly see, the price consolidated for a very long time, and we were in a good trading range here before it finally shot up. This tells us that a significant amount of volume was accumulating here for a move higher. And accordingly, when the price comes back here, this volume may be defended by large players, and from here we might see some kind of reaction. And here it is absolutely crucial for us to lock in part of our profits so we don't miss out. So for now, the main thing is to watch for a consolidation here, and if we do manage to hold above this level, then short positions can be considered. Now the next coin you asked me to analyze was NER, and let's start with the daily time frame. I want to immediately emphasize that we have taken out the long liquidity from the historical minimum, which is quite a positive signal, and right now we are seeing an upward movement. I've also marked a dynamic line, which currently serves as our support, and it's worth paying attention to it. In addition to this, I've highlighted resistance levels. I didn't highlight resistance levels that are too far away. All of that will happen as the price grows. Now let's take a more local look at the current situation. We have support levels, and they will be key for us. The initial level of support is at 141. Why? This specific level functioned as a mirror level. We approached it from below and bounced off as well as from above, after which we clearly saw significant upward movement. That is exactly why it is actually considered a key level. Moreover, we have a fairly large volume shelf here. For this reason, we can consider long positions here, but only with confirmation. If we see something similar to this formation after a breakout, for example, then we can start entering long positions. But if we don't see that happen and we fail to break through this level, then the next key level to consider for potential long positions will be down at 124.09. At this point, we will just take out the liquidity that is currently located right below this previous low. And moreover, this level is also a mirror level for us because historically we can clearly see how it has reacted and performed over time. We approached it both from above and saw a strong bounce off, and we also came up from below and saw a rebound. So we should definitely pay close attention to this area as well. And the very last support level I would consider is located right at 107.91. This particular point is also very important for us because we have a significant volume shelf here, we have a clear mirror level, and this is essentially the foundational zone from which this entire upward movement first began. And here, these volumes can also be defended by buyers, as I mentioned with the Doge chart. Now let's take a look at what's happening at the moment, and exactly how far these corrective movements might continue to go. I'll mention right away that I already showed this trading setup in our community chat earlier today. So again, if you don't want to miss out on any of these opportunities, you should definitely join us there. But right now, we can clearly see that the price is already following our predicted scenario, and very soon it will be possible to start taking some profits. However, if you haven't entered a position yet, I would probably consider looking for something based on confirmations, when the price is breaking through and consolidating below this support zone. For example, we can look for confirmation both on the 4-hour and the daily time frame. But let's talk about the 4-hour time frame. If we now consolidate with several candles below, then we can talk about some confirmation of this downward movement. And here, you could consider entering on a retest. For example, we made this breakout, consolidated below, and then came back to the zone again. Right here, we saw a very similar formation develop, then we made another clear break, and it is from this specific break that we will look to enter our short positions just like we did in this previous scenario. We had a clean break of the level, we successfully made the move, consolidated for a while below that point, and then finally entered into our short positions. And now, essentially, we're taking profit. The exact same situation applies here. This is for those who haven't had a chance to enter this position yet. It's best, of course, to place your stop behind the nearest high. Currently that level is at 1.6322. And the next key level we are observing is the high, which is currently the highest point, sitting right at 1.6960 level. Now let's move on to the most interesting part, Bitcoin. The last time I recorded an overview, we were at these values. That was around $81,000. After that, I mentioned that we have a clear resistance level and a support level, and we simply need to watch the market reaction, because we don't know exactly where the price will go next. As a result, for now, the price is just moving sideways within a range. We reached our support level and then saw a rebound back up to our resistance level. And right here too, we are seeing a downward reaction occurring. And now we've entered into the specific price zone we highlighted earlier, where essentially all the liquidity for long positions is heavily concentrated, because it hasn't been taken out from these previous lows yet. And now let's move on to the detailed liquidation heat maps and see that in fact, all the concentration of liquidations was located right in this zone, and we've essentially cleared out those orders now. And now new liquidations are starting to form, but this time they're short liquidations located just above the current highs. These are approximately at these levels because since the highs here haven't been taken out yet, traders who are shorting the market are placing their stop orders right here. This will be an attractive and interesting target for us if the price continues to move higher. Now I want to draw your attention to this zone as it is very significant for us. There is a high concentration of liquidations here, so it's very important to hold this level. If we see consolidation here, it will indicate the strength of the buyers. However, if we break through this zone and consolidate below it, then the next support level will be at 76,335. And overall, this would already look like a negative scenario. But you also need to be prepared for this. And for now, of course, the situation doesn't look as optimistic as it could, but at the same time, it's not all that bad. We have certain support levels where we will observe the market's reaction together, and we also have resistance levels and zones where there are very large liquidations of short positions. Therefore, if we can successfully hold this current level and consolidate firmly above the mark of 79,126, then after that, it will be entirely possible to consider some potential long entries precisely from these specific confirmations. And then gradually move your position toward the nearest resistance levels, which we can see will be situated at 81,760. And our key target, let me remind you, is the mark of 84,350. On this note, I suggest we wrap up. Thank you for watching these reviews until the end. Write in the comments which coins you would like me to analyze next time. And that's exactly what we'll do. Don't forget that it's not the smartest who win, but those who stick to their strategy. Wishing everyone profits.